approaching the end of October. In fact, tomorrow the clocks go back, so it's the last weekend of October. And I'm planning today. I was supposed to do this last week, but we had that storm, Ashley, I think it was, came up on the Thursday, Friday, and it was much too windy to actually go down and do this. You probably wouldn't have heard nothing on the mic because the wind was so strong, and that carried on right through into the weekend as well. In fact, there was a match where I'm going today on the Sunday when it looked horrendous conditions, gale force winds, and yeah. So basically I'm heading towards Aldeburgh today. That's the plan, to fish somewhere in Aldeburgh. I'm not quite decided which of the marks I'm going to fish yet. 3 main areas in Aldeburgh. You've got the Scallop, which is outside the town towards Thorpe Ness, and then you've got the actual town beach itself, and then the area where I think I'm going to fish today is going to be up by the yacht club. So when I get down to Aldeburgh, I'll quickly run through the parking locations, and well, I'll assess the situation when I'm down there and decide which of those marks I'm going to fish. So the journey time for me today is going to be about 1 hour and 30 minutes, and that's from Norwich to Aldeburgh. And what I'm aiming to do is get there for around about 11 o'clock. And today's tides is low water is around about 12 noon. So the intention today is going to fish it from the bottom all the way up to the top of the tide, which is around about 6 p.m. and then I might go an hour more depending on how light it is, how dark it is, etc. I certainly won't be fishing much past 7 o'clock tonight. Well, as I predicted, after leaving Norwich this morning in fairly misty, foggy conditions, an hour and a half later we've arrived in Aldeburgh to bright sunshine. It's been the pattern for the last few days, so I was expecting this. So what I'm going to do now is we're just going to go down. This is basically the road that's come straight off the A12. I've headed down towards Snape and then carried on to Aldeburgh. Turn right here, it takes you into the town centre. But what I'm going to do first of all is just take you left and take you to the Scallop car park, which is just a few minutes up the road here. As I say, right would take you into the town centre there. So continuing on round, at the end we do a left. Just up here on the right you can see the car park, and you can actually see the Scallop itself, which is like a bit of artwork they've erected on the beach here. On the right here is your pay and display car park. The hours they run is from 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. at night, and for the hours that you have to pay, it's basically, there's the Scallop in front there. So these car parks, quite nice. It's just a short walk over the shingle there onto the beach. Yeah, they run from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m, the charges, and for that time, which is 10 hours, it's £4. So £4 for the day. It's not really too much, and it's quite easy, close access to the beach. I'm probably not going to fish here today. I'm planning on heading down towards the yacht club, where it is actually free parking on certain parts. I'll explain that when we get down there. So coming back out the car park, head back into the town centre the same way as we just come out. And there is more sort of parking on the side here, and you've got all these fresh fish shops and whatever you here. You'll probably be able to pick up a fresh mackerel or a herring if you're short on a bit of bait. There used to be one of them, used to be a little tackle shop, but I don't think it's open these days. You'd have to check that before you come. So heading back now into the town centre. So back into the town centre and a left turn. And we're heading down to Fort Green car park now, which is just as you leave the town. And just in front up there, approaching us now, the blue building, the fish and chip shop there. That does some of the best fish and chips in the area, I would say. You not often see big queues outside the door, and very nice fish and chips. So if you are fishing on these beaches and you're not catching any fish, you could always pop down and fill up on a nice fresh fish and chips. So just as we come out the end of the town centre, we come up to this Fort Green car park. It's another pay and display, and I think it's exactly the same charges. So for 8 till 6 it's chargeable, and around about £4 a day I believe. So that's the car park, and just over the back of the car park there you can see the railing straight onto the beach. Now just a word of warning about these, the access part just there, it can be very snaggy in that little bit just behind the car park. But if you walk a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, you can avoid those. I think it's because it's quite a popular area to fish, so it can be a little bit snaggy. So as you leave that car park, and we're heading down now towards the yacht club, you're going to end up on this sort of unmade part of the road. Now this is still a car park, and it's still 8 AM to 6 PM chargeable. It's quite bumpy, so you have to take your time, try and pick your way across the best route. This is by payable by app, and I believe, again, I still think it's the same, about £4 all day. But we're going to carry on to this bit up here. So as we come along there, if you take the right hand road there, it's very bumpy. That takes you onto Yacht Club, and what we want to do, head up here. Along the side of here, you can literally park on the side of the road. As you can see, there's a chap there now with his fishing gear. Head on the beach. Again, very, very bumpy. Watch your cars. You've got some big ruts and bumps here. Could do a bit of damage if you go too fast. As you go further on, it does smooth out a little bit. You can see quite a few anglers already on the beach this morning. I'm going to take you down to the Martello Tower down there in front of us, and I'll turn around there and probably come back and set up somewhere along there. This is all free parking along the top here. You've just got to be a bit mindful where you park. Don't sort of leave it in front of the access stairs or stuff like that. You can park on both sides. For this particular purpose today, what I might do is park right on the edge of the wall, then I can just literally pass my gear down onto the beach and set up. So you haven't got to carry your gear virtually nowhere when you use this. This is the yacht club on the right here. So it has smoothed out a little bit down here now. And every now and again you just get a little set of those steps which gives you the access onto the beach. So if you can't get near the steps, you can park further up, you can lay your gear on top of the wall, walk up to the access steps, walk down onto the beach, then walk back up and pass your gear back down. what I might do today is fish up this end, potentially just outside these wooden groins. I haven't fished up this end for quite a while, but last time I did find it quite snaggy up in these groin areas. On the right you've got the River Old, which comes in. Can be good for bass in the summer if the conditions are right, lure fishing maybe. So in front of us here you've got the Martello Tower, and what you can do here, if you're really fit and adventurous, is walk past that, round the Martello Tower, and you're on a track then down to something what's called the Dirty Wall. I'm just going to put it in front of here first of all. Let's get out and have a look at the layout. Yes, after you park here, if you're really adventurous, this is the walk. I think you used to be able to get 4x4s around there if you had the key. I think that's all stopped now. But you can see there's a walkway there that literally goes right the way out to what they call the aerials. It's quite a walk as far as I can remember. That's the Dirty Wall just past here. Also a good spot. I'm not going to be venturing down there today. I've got the little dog with me today. So as I say, what I'll probably do is drive back along, find one of the access steps down there and set up quite near to that. Okay, so there's the Martello Tower up there where I just got out and had a look. And I've driven back a little bit further. I was heading towards this access point here, but as you can see, it's only literally a 2-foot step down on the beach. So all the way along here is it, you can literally park your car up on the top here and then literally step down onto the beach. You haven't got to carry your gear for miles. High tide line's going to be somewhere just about here, so I can get set up with a shelter and everything. And the anglers are much further down there, so there's plenty of room. As per normal for my starts, what I've done is set one rod up. I've brought the Tournament Match Pro Mark IIs today and multiply reels. So I've set one up and had a couple of test casts just to see if there's any weed, what the tide pool's like. There's not a lot of tide pool, just odd tiny little bits of weed. Nothing too much to worry about at the moment. I can see some floating on the top, but not too much of a problem. And as I normally do, I'll start off with one rod and 2 rigs I've got there today. So I've got a little 3-hook clip down there with smallish hooks. And once I've assessed the tide pool and the weed situation, I've got a pulley rig there with a little 2-0 on, and I'll fish a bigger bait on that for maybe a bigger fish. I'm pretty much sure we're going to get whiting today. In a recent match there was whiting, pouting, a few dabs, the odd dogfish, but predominantly whiting, so I'd be very surprised if we don't get some today. So moving on to the baits for today, it's all out the freezer today. I didn't have time to get organised for any fresh, so what I've brought is 2 or 3 blacks, frozen blacks there, 2 or 3 wraps. I've got another one of slightly fresher ones under there. I've got a couple of little mini blueies there which I might put on the big rod. Obviously some squid, and then there's some fillets of mackerel there, maybe a dogfish or whatever later on. I've even put in a couple of peelers there, frozen peelers. Might give them a try later on the big rod, depending on how things are going. I've showed you this before, but what I do is get the frozen blacks out, it's still semi-frozen, thread them onto the needle like that. As they thaw out, they'll become easier to thread. Once you've got the needle through the middle of that worm, range it to the size of bait I want, and get a little bit of cotton, and then what I do is just give it a few wraps. It tightens it all up, it spins round on the needle and then forms a nice solid little bait. And what happens is, cotton will just help it grip to the shank of the hook. I've got a 3-hook rig going out, so there's 3 baits on there ready to go. Just got to slide them onto the hooks now. The bottom one I've just put a little bit of squib with that, just with a bit of a change. So once they're threaded off the needle onto the hook, I'm using these Arno bait stops here to compress the bait into a nice morsel, and both of those hooks are the same. Plenty of hook points showing, and a bait stop to stop it sliding up the line. Now, if you're using it clip down, these are essential, because you literally will cast it and that will slide up. If you're using it as a flapper, because these are trailing behind the lead, the force of the pressure is pushing it back down into the bend of the hook, so you don't necessarily need a stop. I have them on all the time, and if I don't use them, like on this top hook, because I'm trying a little bit of fish on this top hook, all I do then is just slide that bait stop up out of the way next to the swivel, and that can stay there until I need it again. Let's get this rig ready and get it cast out. Okay, the first cast is now out. It's gone out about 60 yards, I suppose. Just a nice gentle little lob, and that's the 3-hook clip down, a couple of black lug baits and a single fish bait on the top hook. Just basically going to see how much tide there is, whether there's any weed. I'll give this probably 15 or 20 minutes for the first cast, and maybe then think about putting the second rod out with a bigger bait a little bit further maybe. Okay, so you can see I've got the second rod out now. So the right hand rod is the one with the pennel rig on and a bigger bait. There's a squid and lug cocktail on there on a 2.0. It's banged out as far as I can. The other rig is now the 3-hook clip down with the smaller hook, size 2s. We're an hour into the ebb now, and it's only just started to pick up the flow. There's been virtually no flow since I've been here. The leads have been straight out in front of me on a 5-ounce yellow top, and they've sat out there in front of me, and they're just starting to pull around a bit now. So hopefully with the increase in tide, it might now produce a few bites. I haven't seen any bites, although I've brought the rig in twice and it's been stripped off, at least one of the hooks. Although it's lovely sitting here in really warm, sunny conditions, it's not doing much for the fishing. I've not had a single bite yet. Just over an hour now. As I said a little while back though, as soon as that sun dips down and the light drops, we might be in with a chance. What I did notice though, when I walked down to the edge then to do my last cast, the first 15 to 20 yards is absolutely choked with weed all floating on the top. So it's on the surface, and it's only about 15, it starts 15 yards out. So obviously my line's not picking that up. I haven't had a single bit on the line up to now, touch wood. So out of the 3 marks I sort of highlighted this morning, this one, which is the yacht club, or the road next to the yacht club, this is the most accessible. It's the easiest access, especially for someone who don't want to do any walking whatsoever. You can literally park your car, drop down the wall and fish. Further back, fishing the actual town stretch, which runs right behind the main shops. I think parking at the Fort Green car park and then walking. I'm not sure if there's any other parking between there and the far end of town where those fish shacks were, the huts selling all the fresh fish. I would think parking would be of a premium up that end. There's lots of yellow lines and restrictions up there. And then obviously out the other end towards the scallop sculpture, nice big car park there, £4 all day. But this, as I say, is the most accessible, and it's the easiest one to fish. It's quite a nice spot to fish at night because you can have everything with you in your car. You can have all the sort of cooking gear and tea making gear and stuff in the back of the car. You haven't got to lug it all down the beach, so it makes for a very comfortable mark. Species wise, well, throughout the spring, summer, you've got your dogfish, your flatfish, smoothhounds move in the summer months. You've always got the odd bass or two along here. This time of year, as soon as we start moving into September and October, the whiting starts showing up. Initially, tiny little pin whiting, and you normally sort of get them at any time during the day and night. Once darkness falls, the bigger shoals of whiting then move in. As that sun dips down, the light values will drop, and they'll come in closer to the shore. Probably going to fish to around about 6:30 at the latest, so just about getting dark then. We'll see how it goes. What I'll do now is I think I'll just pull in that left hand rod, which has got the 3-hook rig on, check the baits, refresh them and get it back out. Probably try a slightly different distance, maybe go a bit shorter or maybe go a little bit longer. I don't think I can go ultra short today because of that weed that's floating in the edge. If I go 25, 30, 40 yards out, I should be okay. Let's give that a little bait change. The baits have had a little bit of attention this time. Looks like the crabs have been at them. Right, that's that rig rebaited. It's a little piece of mackerel on the bottom, and I've got a squid and black lug top tail in the middle, and a tiny little sliver of mackerel, just fish, on the top. Let's get that one put back out. I've noticed the right hand rod's got a nice little healthy bend in it. It's either a bit of weed built up on the line, or it's a bit more tide pool where that is further out. Yeah, as I thought, that little bit of weed had wrapped round and caused a bit more drag. The bait is absolutely, completely untouched, exactly as it went out. So that's a little bit of a worry. Never mind, we'll get baited up and we'll keep going. I'm sure they'll turn up at some point. Straight squid on that one this time. Don't think it's going to make that much difference. If them fish are there, they'll take anything. Just got to wait until they turn out, and rod might have a bite, unless it's a piece of weed that suddenly caught the line where it enters the water. I've just got a couple of taps on that. It's quite thick in the edge there, but that line looks like it's gone over the top of it. I'm not convinced it's a bite, but I think I'm going to check it anyway. I've got the next rig baited up and ready. I'm going to change from that clip down over to just a standard 3-aught flapper with size 2 hooks. There's no real need to add that clip down. I'm not going any sort of distance with it, so I shall do that now. any sort of weed, I'm only picking that up when I get near the edge. I think there might be some banging into the line further out. So this is the sort of weed that's floating around in the edge. It's like, I don't know, got a root on the bottom there where it was obviously stuck to something at some time, and they're like 4 or 5 foot long. And there's big rafts of them all the way along the beach. So luckily it's only in the edge. So you have to being able to stay out long enough to carry on fishing. But obviously when you bring your rig back for a bait change, you're picking it up, say in the last 10 or 15 feet. Very strange day. Heading for a blank at this rate. Although I still think between 4:30 and 6 o'clock, as the light drops away, should start getting some bites. I'd be very surprised if we don't. But hey, that's fishing for you. Nothing's guaranteed. That right hand rod's just pulled up slack. There's the blank saver. I knew it wouldn't be long. I didn't think it'd be nearly 3 hours though. How the hell's that slack behind me? Unbelievable. Well, there you have it. At least that little whiting has saved the blank, which I'd never thought I'd be saying in October, almost November. I've just checked the tide again, and basically it's still showing 3 hours till high, so that makes tonight's high tide at 7. So I got that slightly wrong. I thought it was around about 6:15, but it's an hour later. So that means it's been flooding ever since I got here at 12. We're now 4 hours into the flood, but still have 3 hours to go. So potentially I needn't have even arrived till this time to start fishing. I never ever fish that early on a tide, unless I'm fishing it right through and up again. I've got another little knock now on the left hand rod, so it just seems there might be a little few whiting now starting to show. Yeah, so I could have potentially turned up now and fished maybe till 7, but I think I came a little bit earlier to get the best of the light for the filming and for the directions and everything, so I sort of probably went a bit too early. I should have probably gone somewhere and had some lunch, then come down here and started fishing from say 3 o'clock onwards. Oh, actually I believe that might be another lump of weed. I can see where the line is entering the water and there's a massive great blob of weed there, so that's not a bite. That was another tiny little whiting. That's come on a straight squid, that, so should get him back. Get that rebaited and get out there. Time's ticking on now. It's about 4:45. Sun's just about to dip down behind the horizon there, so it'll darken off and get cooler quite quickly now, I would have thought. As more and more people are finishing work for the weekend, they're now hitting the beach. Got about 3 more lots to my left now towards the town set up, and another 1 or 2 behind, so I should imagine there'll be a few people on this beach tonight. Now would be the ideal time to actually get here in hindsight, but it wouldn't be much good for the filming, so basically if you're going to arrive here now just on dusk, set up, go into darkness, there's no reason why you shouldn't fill buckets up with these whiting later on. As soon as that gets dark, they'll go crazy. Yeah, so I'm going to stick to my original plan. I'm going to probably fish till about 6:15, 6:30, something like that, then pack up. It's an hour and a half drive home, so it gets me home at 8 o'clock, reasonable time. Well, if the fish are not biting, I suppose I better feed my dog. She's been sniffing around the bag for ages, so there's her food there. Look. It's coming up to 5 o'clock. Wait, go on then. Have your dinner. Go on. There. No rush. As soon as she sees me load that into the bag when we come on these sessions, she's more or less got her eye on that bag for the rest of the day, so yeah. Does love her food, that dog. That's all there is, I'm afraid. She'll be looking at me eating mine in a minute. Begrudging me every mouthful. It must be another bait change on the left-hand rod time, I think. Had a couple of little twinges on there earlier on, but I think that's that weed still. That's been the problem today. If I have had a bite, spotting it, it's been nigh on impossible. There's been plenty of movement of the tips, but not a lot of it's from fish today. problem why you're not going to spot a bite. That is what you call a pin white. That make good bait, to be fair. Yeah, even with everything set up perfectly and a decent tide run, I doubt very much you're going to see bites from fish that size. As I say, that would have made a perfectly good live bait for something a bit bigger. But he's gone back. Just going to give this another refresh. Right, so when I retrieved that last cast, I found a freshly dead whiting washing along the shoreline there. So obviously someone's put it back and it hasn't survived, and it's gradually been washing along. I know there's a load of gulls been sort of homing in, but they won't go nowhere near it because my rod lines were over the top. So I've retrieved the fish and I've just quickly whipped 2 fillets off of it, and rather it go to waste, I'm going to try tipping my baits with that. So it's fresh whiting. I know it's not very oily, but it's quite a firm flesh, and I think that'll stay on the hook well. Yeah, coming up to 5:20 now. I'm starting to get little indications now on both rods. Left hand rods now tapping. So what I'm probably going to do is, once I bring one of the rods in, I'm going to go down to 1 rod now and then start getting a few bits put away before it gets dark. That way it'll make it a lot easier for me to pack up once it is dark. Yeah, both rods now showing little signs of rattles. I don't think it's that weed now because of the angle of the line and the height of the tide now. That weed's virtually right on the shoreline and the lines are over the top of it. But both rods giving little indications every minute or so. My guess is a 3 to 5 inch whiting, probably rattling around on each. Right, it's fast approaching 5:45 now. I'm going to bring that right hand rod in and pack it away, and tidy up a few bits and pieces. So I've just spoke to another chap who come up and introduced himself. He watches the videos and enjoys them, and he's been fishing about the same time as me today, and basically hasn't had a bite. So he's fishing about 500 yards towards the town there, that first shelter you can see. And yeah, so it's not just me. Sometimes these little sessions don't go as planned with the fish, but as he said, all the other information's there, what I normally put in, and that is the main point of the whole video really. Me catching fish isn't. It's always nice to put a few fish on the camera, but I don't bother if I don't. Yeah, so I'm going to get that right hand rod in now and then start wrapping things down. Dog's getting a little bit fidgety. She wants to go home and doss on the settee, I reckon. So let's get that done. Slightly bigger, but still tiny little whiting. And that came on the bait tip with a fresh whiting, so bit of a cannibal. We'll put him in the bucket. Don't know how long he's been hanging on there. Probably have been getting tiny little rattles and not seen them. That one now, the other rod, is nodding, but I'm pretty sure I can see a block of weed floating just where that line's going in the water, so that's probably going to be that. Yeah, rocking away now. So that may be the end of the session. I've got no baits prepared ready for the next rig, so I'm probably going to draw a line under it. It's been a bit frustrating. I did expect more, but as I said, the rest of the information's there. That's the main thing. Your directions, your facilities, all the rest of the stuff, as usual, will be in the more info. So if you ever want to see things like tackle shops, whatever, always check out the more info, because anything I find out afterwards, I mean, when other subscribers message me and say, oh yeah, don't forget this, don't forget that, I've always put it in the notes, so it's worth having a look. Yeah, that's definitely weed, I can see it floating. Right, I'm going to get this rod put away and then I'll deal with that rod, and that'll probably be it. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry we haven't had a bonanza of fish, but as I said before, that's fishing for you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. And I'll see you all again pretty soon.